Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to have you here. We will now call to order. Time call to order is 5:30, 5:29 p.m. And Mr. Koenig, if you could please do a line roll call.
Vice President Ocampo,
Here,
Clerk Jimenez, Trustee Gilpus Pereira, Trustee Garcia,
Present.
Trustee Perez.
Present.
okay, everybody's here today. Wonderful. We will then proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Sofia Plasencia and Margarita Cruz, who are from Barton Elementary School.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, young ladies, for that. We'll now proceed with the spotlight. Are there any spotlights today, Ms. Koenig?
There are no spotlights.
Okay, thank you. Oh, okay.
My congratulations to all the community centers of the district for the support given to our community in different areas needs. Yesterday, I attended a class titled La Familia Importa, a program by social worker Jessica Rodriguez of Monterrey County Behavioral Health at the Ali Salz Resource Center. It is a series of presentations focused on giving information about mental health of children and adolescents. My thanks and congratulations to Mrs. Irma Lopez, who is the manager of the Alisal Community Center and host of these interesting classes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the spotlight. We will now proceed to the adoption of the agenda. I will ask whoever makes the motion if they would please indicate that item 6B, which is a revised job description information specialist 3, that item be tabled. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept and adopt the agenda with the exception of item 6B that the board would move to table.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, Senora Jimenez, comments? Okay, we'll take a line vote, Mr. Koenig.
Board President Ocampo,
Yes.
Board Clerk Jimenez,
Yes.
Trustee Gilpus Pereira,
Yes.
Trustee Garcia,
Yes.
Trustee Perez.
Yes.
Okay, very good. We'll then proceed to public comments concerning items on the open agenda. There will be a 2-minute limit for individuals and a 20-minute limit on total public comment. There is no ceding of one's time to other individuals. Individuals wishing to address the Board of Trustees on open session agenda items and or other items may do so at this time. And we have a starting time of 5:33. We do have one request by Alma Manzano.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alma Manzano, and this is my husband, Andres Martinez. We would like to bring to your attention an incident that happened to our son on October 8th, 2024, with the sub-teacher, Mr. Biller, at Fremont Elementary School. We don't want this incident to be swept under the rug like nothing ever happened. On this day, Mr. Biller did not let students go to the restroom on a hot day, knowing Kids are drinking water to stay hydrated. First incident, Mr. Biller grabbed my son's arm violently to sit him down in his chair because he got up to pick up his markers that fell to the ground. Second incident, Mr. Biller grabbed my son violently by his shirt collar, pulled him towards him because he got up from his chair. At the end of the day, to put his stuff away in his backpack. Mr. Duran from HR came and the principal and they questioned my son. Their demeanor was very intimidating and they told my son to keep this a secret. Also, Duran from HR told me that he couldn't tell me what was going to happen to Mr. Biller going forward. Till this day, we have not gotten an update. As parents, we have the right to know. My son is a great student and classmate. You could ask all his teachers he has had. However, good student or bad student, no child should be mistreated like this and absolutely not touched or grabbed in any kind of way. School should be a place where kids need to feel safe and not be afraid of going to school. Mr. Biller is not fitted to be a teacher, and he needs to be stripped from his privileges of being a sub. Thank you.
Thank you for the information. Are there any other people wishing to address the board? Okay, we have an ending time then of 5:36. Are there any comments from the Al Sahl Teachers Association? Thank you. The California School Employees Association. Okay. And the United Substitute Teachers Union. Okay, very good. We will then move on to number 3, which is presentations, and we have a presentation from School Site Presentation Principal Marisol Pio Oros from Barton Elementary School.
Good evening, Mr. Ocampo, Vice President, members of the board, Mr. Koenig, and cabinet members. I'm Marisol Pio Oros. I am the principal at Barton Elementary School, and Ms. Rosa Carranza is my assistant principal, and she should be here shortly. I am very excited to share with you some information about Barton Elementary School. This is my first year as the principal at that site. Last year, I did take over as interim principal in October. So today, I'll be sharing with you the school overview. I will be also sharing with you our current reality, which is just our current data, our instructional focus, and some of the social emotional learning supports, PBIS events or implementation, and parent involvement strategies that we are implementing at Barton. I'll start off with our school overview. Currently at Barton, we have 573 students enrolled. 46 of those students are long-term English learners. We do have 88 at-risk long-term English learners. There is 348 English learners at Barton, and we were able to reclassify 45 students during the last LPAC assessment last school year. And there are currently 104 students that attend the after-school program. As you can see on the side, I do have a list of the classes offered at Barton. We do have 3 SDC special day classes, one of which is a preschool. We do have general academics that serves TK through 1st grade. And we have another general academics classroom that serves 2nd and 3rd graders. We have TK up to 6th grade, As you can see, in every grade level, there's 3 different classrooms, except for TK, we only have 1 section, and in second grade, we only have 2 sections. Those that are highlighted in red, I just wanted to point out that we do have 1 vacancy in first grade, or my one-way immersion class. We are waiting for the teacher to be able to transfer. And we do have 1 of our 5th grade classrooms as well with long-term subs since the beginning of the school year. So we are still waiting to fill that vacancy. Moving on, we have 88 migrant students at Barden. We do have 19 RSP students, and our psychologist is currently assessing about 4 to see if they qualify for services. We do have 72 students that are reclassified into fluent English proficient who are still being monitored because they were reclassified within the last 4 years. And we have 61 total SPED students that attend our SBC classes. Here is a list of my support staff. I am very fortunate to have an instructional coach and an early literacy coach who are working very hard with our classroom teachers in their PLCs and also in the classrooms. I have 1 reading specialist, Ms. Josefina Flores, who is providing intervention to our upper grade students that still need to master foundational skills in reading. This year, I count with an English learner specialist, Ms. Veronica Hernandez. I also have a wellness team that is our school counselor, our school psychologist. I do have 1 ESS counselor from Effective School Solutions. I do have 1 Sticks and Stone counselor who comes in twice a week. We do have a speech therapist, Mr. Kalsa, who is there Monday through Friday. This year, I am also very fortunate to have a full-time social worker at Barden. Her name is Rocio Quintero. And just recently, we welcomed a mindful coach. Her name is Alyssa Linkletter. And of course, I cannot go on without thanking my classified staff members. Last year, I was left with sub positions in the office, and it made me realize that my office staff is the backbone of the school, and so I'm very fortunate to this year have my 2 new clerks, Alondra Vargas and Mari Quintero, and I do have a subsecretary, Leslie Mosqueda. I do have 2 kindergarten para educators, and 1 TK para educator. I have 4 SPED paras. We have our food service employees. We also have our 7 campus supervisors, and of course, our maintenance and custodian workers. So we are Barden, and we are working hard together to make sure that we have a welcoming environment for our students and also making sure that we address their academic. So now I'll move on to our current reality. So in this next section, we'll be going over some data. This is the SBAC scores from that have a comparison since 2022 all the way to last spring, 2024. As you can see, what is circled in red is the total percentage of students that met or exceeded the standard in English language arts. So in 3rd grade, we had 30%, 4th grade, 17%, 5th grade, 18%, and in 6th grade, 31%. Overall, that was a 7.24 growth from the last SBAC scores to this year's in English language arts. And here we have our math scores for the SBAC. In 3rd grade, we had 39% of our students meeting or exceeding standard. In 4th grade, 17%. 5th grade, 10% in 4th grade. In 5th grade, we had 6%, and then in 6th grade, we had 7%. And then overall, 6.42% growth from last school year to this school year. And I'll move over to LPAC scores. So here you see the breakdown of our LPAC scores by grade level and by level. On the top, you'll see kindergarten, where they score level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4, and it goes down by grade levels. As you can see, most of our students are falling in level 3 with 132, but right behind that, we have students in level 2, a total of 122 students. On the bottom there, you see a bar graph that shows how many students declined a level or maintained or went up one or more levels. So we had 4.2% that went down an LPAC level. We had 53.6% students that maintained their level in LPAC and 42% that actually went up a level. The next set of data pieces are from iReady, which Barden started piloting this program last school year in March. But this school year, with all the other schools, we are also following the district assessment dates. And this is how our scores look for reading from the beginning of the school year. The green is mid or above grade level and early on grade level. So there's about 10% in reading as overall at Barden. We have 28% one grade level or below, and 2 or 3 grade levels below, total combined 27% and 35% for reading. The next two slides break that down information for us by grade level. So it's the percentage of students that are in the 2 grade levels below, 1 grade level below, or early on or mid or above grade level, and the total number of students. So we have, in this slide, we have the first grade scores, second grade, and third grade. And our next slides are fourth, fifth, and sixth. So we do have a high percentage of students that are below grade level, and in this presentation, I'll present to you what we are doing at Barden to address that. The next slide is the math overall placement as a school for the beginning of the school year. We have 4% mid or above grade level or early on grade level, 35% that are 1 grade level below, and then as 2 and 3 grade levels, we have 36% and 24%. So if you look at the next 2 slides, again, that's broken down by grade level. First through third grade is the first slide, and 4th, 5th, and 6th is the next slide. The next slide is giving us Lexile by grade level. So this is an average of every class in 3rd through 6th grade. And I also included on there the cut point for reclassification. So in order for students to reclassify, if they score an LPAC level 4, they would need to have the reading level stated there. So for example, in 3rd grade, they would need a 645, in 4th grade an 850, 5th grade 950, and 6th grade 1030. And these are new this school year based on the changes because of the iReady Lexile that we are measuring at the sites. And as in average, you can see 3rd graders are averaging 328. 4th grade is averaging 501. 5th grade is averaging 633. And our 6th graders are averaging 699. So when I look at these scores, I do realize that we have a lot of gaps to fill as a school. So for me, having this data here and presenting it to you and also have presented it to my teachers, when we have our first assessment window, which is coming up, what we want to see is growth. So it's great that we have the data, but now what's next is presenting, updates to my staff, analyzing it as an admin team and also with my coaches and my support staff. So thinking of all of that, I'll talk to you guys about the next steps happening at Barden. So one of the first things that I do want to mention is that we are part of VITAL, which is visibly improving teaching and learning through West Ed. This is professional development that we are getting as an ILT team, instructional leadership team. And then our grade levels are part of another day of this type of training. What this program or this, I don't know, process is, they are giving us protocols to follow during our professional learning community days. So we've already done the one stated here, which is a protocol to analyze a standard, a protocol to lesson tune, protocol for micro teaching, a protocol for analyzing student work, and a protocol for common formative assessments or creating common formative assessments. We are doing this school-wide. We did get an introduction last school year, but this school year is where all the work has been done, and our teams have really received it well. I think they are excited to learn from each other because I think that this is what these protocols are doing for us as a school and as a school team, is that we really learn from each other, and it helps with equity of voice and making sure that everybody participates. And for me, one of the greatest things that I'm seeing is the micro teaching, where teachers are actually lesson tuning, and right away they go and the teacher delivers this lesson and the whole grade level watches, and we come back and we debrief, and just seeing the teachers give each other feedback, both positive and wonderings, and just the demeanor of the presenting teacher, just really happy and joyful, and just the questions that they ask each other. For me, it's I learn from them, and I know that they're learning from each other. So another thing that we're working very hard at Barden is building consistency. I think that was one of the things that we started last school year, and it's a lot of work, but we're just trying to stick through it. So one of the first things that we're doing is we have some school-wide agreements where we were seeing a lot of inconsistencies between grade levels. So we made some school-wide agreements. Like what is it that we're gonna see in every classroom? So there are some examples, it's like a math wall. We're gonna have academic vocabulary up. We're gonna make sure that we have our objective or ICANN standards, both for the students and for the teachers. And that's a work in progress, and it is getting better. Looking at our math data, we realize that our students need math intervention, and we have had some math planning days where teachers are given time to meet with each other, and they either plan, they pace, they plan common formative assessment for math, or we have invited our math TOSA, Lucy Aguilera, to provide our teachers with some PD. And based on the need, grade levels have agreed to do intervention at least twice a week within their own grade level or within their own class to fill in the gaps of those foundational skills for math. We are working very hard for our grade levels to align in all subjects, making sure that there's equity. Depending on whatever teacher you have, you are getting the same instruction as the teacher next door. This year we are continuing with 2 ELD support teachers who do take the English only or reclassified students during designated ELD time in order for the classroom teachers to keep a smaller group and really work as best as they can to provide those strategies that they need to increase their English language development and also the LPAC strategies. And district-wide, we are implementing iReady and monitoring the students' independent work and making sure that teachers are looking at least once a week and providing intervention if needed. And then I'll move on to our last section of the presentation, which is social emotional learning and parent involvement. So like I mentioned earlier, we do count with a good team for our wellness at Barden. We have our school counselor who does take care of the cost process. She does provide tier 1 and tier 2 interventions for students, and she is a big part of our PBIS implementation. We have our effective school solutions counselor as well, and she does support Tier 3. And she also can provide family sessions. And I think that's very important because a lot of times our kids that are in the most need is not just them. It usually comes from home and family. We do have a social worker this year who is also working with Tier 1 and Tier 2 students and also connecting our families with resources um, and just making sure that our parents have the information that they need. And we have a Sticks and Stones counselor who does Tier 2 and Tier 3 support, and she is at Arden twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays this year. We have a mindfulness coach, and she does do weekly presentations in the classrooms, and she also has small group sessions with a program called Rise Up. And we do have MCBH available also for our SPED students to provide Tier 3 support. And we are also working very hard to improve our school culture. And so we do have monthly spirit days where both students and teachers are participating. And it's always a joyful day where we see kids very excited to show us that they're participating, and also our teachers. We do have our PBIS biweekly student store where we provide students with just prizes that they get excited to earn, and PBIS monthly events. Just this week, our students were able to attend a Halloween haunted classroom if they earned it, and they were like very excited about it. You guys are welcome to go see it. It's really cool. And next month, we are looking forward to having a glow party for the students with the DJ. And again, these are things that students earn through following our 3 rules and earning a membership. For student recognition, we are continuing promoting attendance and making sure that students are in school. So we do have monthly ribbons for our kids if they are in school the full month. We will be giving trimester certificates for perfect attendance, and students get an incentive. We also do have leader of the pack assemblies once a month. So this is like the student of the month, but since we're the Barden Wolves, we call it leader of the pack. And students do get a bumper sticker for their cars, and we do have coupons from In-N-Out, Panda Express that they also get very excited to receive. Just recently, we did have an assembly for all of our students that got a 3 or 4 on SBAC, and they got a certificate, they got some school swag, and also for those that reclassified, just to kind of show our other students, if you didn't get it this year, let's work really hard and make sure that you get that 3 or 4 on SBAC, and that if you still need to reclassify, you work hard for that as well. And in order to promote reading, on top of iReady and the instruction that goes into the classrooms and any intervention that happens, we do have AR medals that are given every trimester, and students are able to earn a gold medal, silver medal, or bronze medal. They must meet their goal, and the color of the medal depends on their overall average. So to promote that reading comprehension and making sure they're taking quizzes and getting a good score, we are promoting the different colors for the medals. And another thing that I'm very proud of to say is that our parent involvement at Barden has gotten bigger. And before, when we had coffee clutches, we had maybe 5, 6 parents show up, and now it's anywhere between 20 and 30, which I know might not sound a lot with 573 students, but it is an increase. One of the things that I learned from my parents last school year during the LCAP input is that some parents can't come in the morning for coffee clutch, so they were asking for evening ones. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try it. And last month was my first time doing an evening coffee clutch, and I had over 25 parents attend. So I think they're gonna work out. So 1 month I'll do morning, and the next month evening. And we've also working really hard with AFRC, with Irma and Keiko, because they offer a lot of workshops at their centers, but they realize that parents don't go. So we've brought 2 to Barden, and we've had a little bit more parents show up. So we're gonna continue, maybe hopefully offering those at the site. We do have a monthly school site council, and we are bringing back family nights at Barden, and we just had one on Friday, which was our family reading night, and it was a big success. The kids had fun, parents came, and I'm looking forward to having a math family night and hopefully a science one to make sure that our parents are feeling involved at our site. And that was it on my end. Thank you very much, and I'm here for questions. Ms. Carranza should be here too for questions.
Thank you, Marisol, for the presentation. Any questions from the board? Senora Gilpas?
Yes, yes, thank you. What a great presentation. You really know what's going on at your school. I can tell you're not making it up, you're not guessing. You know what's going on. Some of the comments you said, there's gaps to fill in regards to student achievement. You're working on those gaps. And I'm one that always says, we can't keep blaming everything on COVID, but COVID did bring a really, back learning loss for our students, and we're trying to catch up. We're trying to catch up, and it looks like at your school you're doing everything you can to, you shared your current reality. What's it like? You're being honest with us. We need to improve, and I believe that our board is working hard with Mr. Koenig, with Mrs. Anzo, to find ways of how we can support principals and not put more layers of programs and whatever it is that's going to take the principal's attention away from what's happening in the classroom, because that's what's important, for you to have the time to go visit the teachers to see what's going on in there. So I really appreciate your presentation. I did have one question, but I believe it's more for Mrs. Anzo, because you list here your support staff. I think you have about 11 support staff, including coach, specialist, and so forth. And my question, Mrs. Anzo, with this support staff, do all of the schools have the same number and titles of support staff? The page isn't numbered, I'm sorry, so I don't know which one it is, but or does it depend on what the need of the school is? Like, so do all of them have a mindful coach? Do all of them have a sticks and stones? Are these people full-time? And I think what I'm going to ask for when it's time for board members to speak is some kind of presentation, so we could know just how involved they are, like what their student load is. What are they not? And I'm not questioning what they're doing, I just don't know. And I think it's important for us to know what they're doing. So the question is, do all the schools have the same number and same titles of what they're doing, or is it different?
So it's a little different. So all schools have an instructional coach. All schools have a reading specialist. All schools have an ESS counselor. All schools have a school psychologist. All schools have a school counselor. EL specialists, we only have 6 district-wide, so the schools share the EL specialist. Early literacy coaches, that was based on a grant that the state gave, so only 9 of our schools qualified for that grant. Sticks and Stones, there's a contract, so everybody, they're more of a consultant, so they might come in once a week, so all schools have access to that. A speech therapist, well, it depends on, we still have some vacancies there. And then the social worker and the mindful coach are not at all schools. We have 3 social workers that are district-wide, but because Barden was identified as a CSI school, which was a low-performing school, and one of the areas was also a suspension, and making sure that the community was engaged. This year, it was a new action in our LCAP to have Barden, to have a social worker just specialized on Barden, so that we can help increase attendance, to make sure that the students, as you can see what they're doing in the tier 1, tier 2, making sure that the behavior improved, just to build that school climate.
Thank you. Well, that's good to know. It's based really on the need of the school and
Yes.
so forth. So thank you. And I was at your evening coffee clutch. I don't know if you remember, and I counted more than 25 parents. I mean, you ran out of chairs in the library. Our custodian had to bring more chairs, and it was a really appreciated by the parents and by myself. I couldn't stay for the whole thing, but I congratulate you for that. And
thank
so
you.
That's all for me. Thank you so much.
Yes, Leticia Garcia?
You want to go next?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you?
No.
sorry, Okay.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, I have, you know what, I forgot to turn off my mic. But no, thank you for this wonderful presentation. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen such a transparent presentation. I've never really seen the names of the teachers listed. So that, I mean, I'm glad to hear that your teachers are really good, are okay sharing their data, which is sometimes teachers aren't. So I'm happy to see that in your case, you know, your teachers are very, are willing to be vulnerable like that, sharing data. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on the ELD smaller groups? I think it was in the classroom. How are you getting to those ELD smaller groups with classroom teachers? Can you just elaborate real quick on that?
So we have we used to call them intervention teachers. So we do have two at Barden, but now they're more like ELD support staff because they, every grade level has a designated ELD time. So we start off with third grade, for example, and their ELD time is 8:30 to 9:15. So all the English only and reclassified students are going to our ELD support staff. And the reason we have two is because in the upper grades, we have a lot more that are reclassified. So an intervention teacher or support staff teacher cannot have like 40 kids, so 20 each. The teachers, the classroom teachers, do the teaching of the level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s. So they don't have a full class of 29 students. They could have 14 because they only serve the English language learners. Obviously, in the level 1s, there might be less students. So it's just to provide teachers with the smaller group to be able to address the needs. And then the extra support teachers are working with our English only students, reclassified students. We're working really hard for the same content to be taught during that time, but at a higher rigor for them. And they are working a lot in their writing.
Very nice. Thank you for that. Because yeah, I was wondering how you're getting those smaller ELD groups during the ELD time. But thank you. That answered my question. And I was at your LCAP meeting. I don't even remember the
Yes.
Barden, and you had a lot of parents there. So kudos
Oh,
to
yeah.
that school that, you know, are getting a lot of engagement. Thank you
Mhm.
for the presentation tonight. You really did a great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senor Jimenez? Okay, very good. Yeah, I just well, I want to thank you for your presentation, and at least it looks like there has been growth, which is a good thing, and it's true, like como la señora Quilpas was saying, that a lot of studies have shown that a lot of students have not recovered from COVID yet, but it's also true what she said, that we can't blame everything on COVID, you know. And that may be true, but we do have to move forward. So it looks like math and reading are probably, I believe, your lowest scores for students, if I read this correctly, which obviously are pivotal skills, you know. So that's important. The only question I had was, in your opinion, what's your greatest challenge that you see for you at, or not just for you, but for the teachers for all of Barton Elementary School?
I think my greatest challenge for me has always been building that trust with the teachers so they could be transparent with their data. I think we're getting there. I think we're more like, you know, what I've been telling them is it's our current reality. It is what it is. We cannot change it. We can take a look at it and as a team think, what can we do to change it? It's not like, oh, look how your class is doing versus my class. So I think that has been a big challenge for me to build that trust with the teachers, but I feel like we are getting there and they are way more open to, you know, just talk about the data.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure I got that. Did you say that building trust so that they could share data with you?
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay, that's what I thought.
And with each other.
And with each other. Okay. My next question, I guess, is what are you most proud of at school at Barton Elementary?
I guess I'm really proud of the growth that we had. I know that Ms. Anso did present to the board, and she did mention that Barton was the only school that met that 7% growth for English language arts, and we were the closest for math, which was at 6.42 or something. So I told, I let my teachers know right away because I do want them to feel like I know we're working hard and I know that sometimes I might be asking for a lot, but the results are there. And if we just keep going, we will make either greater gains.
Yeah, I do find it interesting that, the math scores are down and that the English language skills are up. I do find that interesting because I remember in all the years that I worked at ALSA with, English language learners, they always had their strongest skills in math and their lowest skills in language arts. I find that interesting. I'm not sure why that is.
I can say that I think maybe because the math testing now is a lot different where there's a lot of reading incorporated into it. So students do need to understand, what is being asked, and if they're not reading at grade level, it can be difficult.
That's true. And if you just gave them a math problem without the words, probably solve it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And I've heard that before, but I forgot. Thank you so much. Thank you. And no more questions? Okay. We will then move on with, we have a presentation from Mr. Koenig, our superintendent.
Thank you, Board President Ocampo. I'm just going to give an update in 4 areas: the special education, a couple of issues with special education. Talk a little bit about the test scores the board was updated on at the last meeting, and look at it a little differently. Talk a little bit about community schools, and then finally address some program changes that we're discussing that we're moving forward with for next year. Our tech folks are getting the presentation up on the screen right now. Okay, here we go. Okay, we already talked about the areas we're going to cover. First of all, as far as special education goes, I just want to remind the board that special education is not fully funded as a program by the federal government and by the state. The majority of the money that we spend on special education comes out of our general fund. And the encroachment on the general fund increases every year. So although this year the budgeted amount in 2024-25 is slightly lower than last year, part of that is because we've changed the accounting for the LCAP money that comes out of the general fund, so that's a separate line. If you were to add that to the district general fund contribution that's on the bottom line, it would be $18.8 million, which is a little more than last year. But this is just something we deal with, and it's always going to be there until at least the federal government actually ponies up the amount of money that they've obligated us to spend on special education. Special education enrollment has, this year it's gone down slightly, but it's been going up steadily over time. We've got 822 total students in our special education programs right now. About half of those receive only speech. So the rest of them receive different services. 254 of our special education students are in special day class. We also have students in the Monterey County Office of Ed special day classes. And this has been an area that, because we have to pay for the total cost of that, whether it's, when you look at MCOEs, health and welfare benefits, they're much more generous than ours. They also have a much higher indirect cost rate. So the cost of serving a student in a county office of ed program is much higher than the cost of serving our students here. So we've been, over the past 10 years, we've been bringing back students. We've been bringing back programs. We now offer many more programs than we did. At one time, we had almost 100 students in County Office of Ed programs. As you can see, we've gotten that down to 30. And we're going to try to get that down further as I'll address later on in the presentation. As far as CASP data, I think that I really enjoyed Deputy Superintendent Anzo's presentation at the last meeting. However, I think when we look at the average scores on the CASP, I think it doesn't give the district's performance the credit that it's due. And I think that it's more, I think that what we need to focus on is the bottom line, and the bottom line is how prepared our students are when they go to middle school. So as you'll see here, our students, when they start out testing in 3rd grade, are still, in many cases, learning to speak English, and they don't score as high as they would ordinarily. And you can see here, our students start out at about 29% on overall, and in the 3rd grade, we only score about 24%. And this skews our average, the overall average, much lower. In fact, our students improve from between 3rd grade and 6th grade from 24% to 37%. They improve by about 4 percentage points a year. So they're doing a pretty good job. And during that same period, statewide, students only improved by about 3%, 1% a year. So we close the gap. We don't close it completely, but in 3rd grade, the gap between the statewide average is almost 19%. In 6th grade, it's 8%. And if we look at and we were talking a little bit earlier about the pandemic and the effect that it's had. The promotion cohort that went to middle school in 2019 went from 28% when they were in 4th grade to 42% when they were in 6th grade, for a 14% improvement over those 2 years. We've gone backwards a little bit, and I think this is primarily due to the ground we lost due to the kids being taught remotely for a year and a half. But currently, this past year, our kids started out at 4th grade at 24%, and they got up to 37%. They achieved 13% improvement over 2 years. It's not quite the 7% that we're looking for, but it's pretty good. And the LPAC, although most of our grade levels keep up with the statewide average, unfortunately last year we had one grade, a 4th grade, that was only at 11%. But overall, we were pretty much keeping track with the state during last year. Community schools, I'll make this brief. This is the district organization as far as community schools. The board is responsible for community schools. I'm responsible for community schools. The deputy superintendent and the director of family and community engagement are responsible for community schools, but community schools have to happen at the school site. And the principal is the person that's got to make it happen. And I've gone to several meetings on community schools that have been hosted by folks outside of the district. The folks who've presented on the success in community schools have been principals from Southern California or from Oakland. The principal is the one that's got to make it happen. He's going to have he or she is going to have a community coordinator and then a parent ed specialist. Now, none of those are on board yet. And part of the reason is we don't have any place for them to work. And we'll look at some of the places where they will work in the next slide. But that is the structure that we've got. And the progress, we've identified most of the school site locations. We've interviewed 2 of the community school coordinators. We've advertised for the next 2. And we finally got the grant money. So we're making progress. Now, there's going to be a lot of construction involved in making sure that these folks have a place to work. This is where the community school center is going to be at Loya. It's in the back of the admin building in the area where we used to have the Loya Library. We're going to have to put in 1 or 2 additional walls. And once those walls are installed, once the office spaces have been created, we'll be ready to move a community school coordinator in to Loya Elementary School. These are 2 other schools. On the left, you see Frank Paul Elementary School. In Frank Paul's case, we're going to have to install a completely new portable building. And you can see in the upper left-hand corner, that building, we're beginning the site work, or we were beginning the site work last week when I took that picture. They'll do the site work, they'll put in all the data and electricity and everything else, and then the building will actually be installed there. And once that's ready, we'll be ready to move in with the program. At Montebella, the lower right-hand corner, one of the problems we've got is the community school has to be accessible, or it's a problem that we've got is the community school needs to be accessible to the community, but the community, when they use the community school, can't be able to access the rest of the campus. So at Montebella, we're going to have to put in about 50 feet of new fencing that'll allow people to go from the parking lot to the community school center, but no further onto the school site. The work ahead, we're going to prepare the school site locations. The next interview, we just received the applications for the next 2 community schools, the ones that will be at Barton and Virginia Roca Barton. And then we're currently in the process of advertising for the next 2, the 2 that will be hired for Cesar Chavez and Steinbeck. Those are pretty much the things that are happening in the bottom 2 bullets. Once the community school coordinators are on board, they've got a lot of work to do. They've got to set up a site community schools committee. They've got to put together the engagement plan for that school, and they have to, pretty much as soon as they get there, they're going to have to start working on the end of year report for the first year of the grant. And that's it. Oh, we've got a budget, but you can take a look at that on your own. Next, we've got some changes in store for next year. Next year, we would like to establish a therapeutic intervention program. A therapeutic intervention program is called TIP. TIP is a behavioral intervention program for kids with serious behavioral needs. Right now, district-wide, we have a problem with behavior. The county TIP programs have only got so much capacity. We currently have 6 students enrolled in the county programs that are at La Jolla Elementary School and John Gutierrez Middle School in Santa Rita. And we'd like to bring those students back. We already have 4 or 5 students at least that can benefit from the TIP program. And we'd like to establish our own TIP program so that it's available in the district to our students. Next year, with the opening of the preschool center at 1081 Buckhorn, all of our preschool outside of, this is outside of the transitional kindergarten students, all preschool will go to 1081 Buckhorn. They'll all be 3-year-olds. A couple of years ago, before the transitional kindergarten program, we didn't provide services to 3-year-olds. So this will be a program for 3-year-olds at 1081 Buckhorn. We're going to close down the programs at Jesse Sanchez and Creekside and Loya, and all of our students will now be served at 1081 Buckhorn. Next year, we're also going to evaluate, or over the next 2 months, we're going to be evaluating the future of the ALSAL Virtual Academy. When this year started, we were hoping that the program would expand. We got up to, I think, to about 40 last year at one point. At this point, we only have 28 students in that program. So we're going to be having to make a decision right after the first of the year on the future of the LSL Virtual Academy. Also, we're going to have next year, we're going to have a new grade book that fully utilizes our student information system and some applications in the student information system that we're already paying for. And we're thinking that it will make the lives of our teachers better, but it's going to be a new grade book and report card program. And with that, those are all of the things that I had to update the board on today. Are there any questions?
Yes, Señora Quilpas.
Mr. Koenig, can you go back to the structure of the community schools, please?
Sure.
So is this the structure when the community schools discussion came before the board? Was this the structure that the board approved? Or is
I don't think the board's approved the structure for the
or
community
that you
schools.
discussed with, or that you discussed with us? Because it's just different than what it was, because if the principal's gonna do all that work, then I don't think we need a community coordinator. What's the community coordinator?
Okay,
gonna do?
there is a lot of work. The principal is going to be responsible for the community school success.
Okay, so I guess we may have to agendize that so we can have
Sure.
a discussion, but my question, and it's really, this is not what the board was okay with. I mean, that the principal would be in charge of the coordinators. That was
Okay.
changed.
Um,
And my concern with it is not just the community schools, Mr. Koenig. My concern is now you have some changes and you keep saying we, like the TIP program and other program changes for 24 and 25 that are going to, one of them is going to be beneficial, I know, the report card and so forth. But I think that we need to be communicated a little bit more when these changes are going to be done. I mean, the TIP program, that's a big program. And I think you yourself said or taking these students back, and I know you discussed the dollars behind it. But there's a lot of money. It's expensive to have LSL SPED kids in MCOE. I understand that. But is it dollars or kids or what we can do? We know we have issues right now in our SPED department. So we're going to bring back more I think we need to have a discussion as a board. Is that what we all believe is best for the district? So I would appreciate, I mean, I hope other board members feel the same. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just want to make sure that when those decisions are made, that they're discussed with us so that we're not surprised by some of these things. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, well, that's one reason we're bringing it up now, is to discuss it with the board and find out what your questions are.
Okay, well,
And we'll agendize this for a future meeting.
sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Concerns? Yes.
Thank you for the update. So just off the top of your head, if you know, is it more costly to have our students in the MCOE classes? I mean, and how much more costly is it? Do you know?
Well, part of the planning is going through the cost. We know that in general, all of the programs that we can conduct, that we don't conduct, cost us more.
Okay.
So, and part of it is, there's the indirect cost rate for the county office of ed. I think it's over 10%. And we only charge 3%. In addition, their personnel expenses are higher than ours. So we're pretty, we're confident, and we're doing the final,
Analysis?
we're doing final analysis right now, but we're confident that it'll be
Yeah.
less
I mean, I'm just
expensive.
curious, right?
Now,
Because,
there are programs that it's never going to make sense for us to run, like the medically fragile program that's conducted at AB Ingham. We don't have the money to build that facility here. We don't have the expertise to operate the facility like that. And the deaf and hard of hearing program, we're never going to be able to run that because it would be too much of a burden on our human resources department. It's too hard to find those rare Braille translator or the American Sign Language translators that they utilize. But for every other program, the county encourages us to take them back. It's it's something that we've been doing over time. At one time, as I said earlier in the presentation, we had almost 100 students in county programs. Now we have only 30. And we've broadened the spectrum of services that we offer, and we really are able to do it.
I think maybe one of the concerns is because well, at least as long as I've been on the board, we've always kind of heard that there's a concern with shortages in SPED department. And we were wondering, if we're going to bring all these people back, are we going to be able to have the manpower, the SPED teachers and people in place to accommodate them and not sell ourselves short? Because I think SPED in general and all have had there's not enough SPED teachers out there. So I think maybe that might be a concern.
Well, and there are things that we can do to address that. The Cal State Monterey Bay is offering more special education programs now. They've got the speech program, and we've already gone from 7 speech language pathologists on our staff to 10, and they are beginning to offer other programs as well. So I think there is
There's a pathway.
there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
But we are going to be dealing with shortages in special ed, at least
Okay.
this year.
And just going back to that therapeutic intervention program, and probably this is the first time we hear about it, and maybe we need a little bit more background knowledge in
Sure.
that. But how would you select those? These are kids that have IEPs already, or You're behaving really
Well, we
badly.
already
You need to
ha-
go to therapy.
Yeah, we already have 6 students who have the requirement for these services because they're in the programs that this MCOE offers. We have other students who we would send a tip, but there's no room
Mhm.
for those students
But
at the Monterey.
The
County
selection process, that's kind of what
Yeah.
I was thinking. Are they IEP students? Or are these just general ed students? Are these students with IEPs? that
No,
need to-
these are special ed students.
They are,
These are
okay,
students
all
with
right.
serious behavioral issues
Got it.
that
So they
have
are
a special ed, that have been diagnosed as having a special ed disability that requires us to provide services to them.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Jimenez?
And we have the personnel, and how many people we need?
Okay, each of the tip classrooms, and we're thinking there would be 2, would require a teacher and 2 behavior paraeducators. And in addition, there would be a requirement for behavior technicians with some of the kids assigned to those sections would require one-to-one behavior techs. Also, we'd need to have a program manager for the program. We'd need to make a contract with Monterey County Behavioral Health for support from a clinician. And we would have to have other support staff that we're identifying, behavior aid, and maybe a requirement for a master teacher.
Okay, very good. No other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So when you talk about cost, is it a sum that you paid to MCOE, or is it, you said 10%, they charge 10% and we were charged 3%? Is it per student or just the sum itself?
It's, okay, the accounting's a little bit complicated. Basically, they've identified 4 or 5 different cost centers, and they group the services that they provide into those cost centers. So, for example, in special day class groups the kids who have autism, the kids who are in therapeutic intervention, and a couple of other programs. And they total up all the costs for the personnel, the cost of the facility, the cost of the electricity, everything that goes into that program. They total up that cost. They subtract from that cost the amount of the special ed financing that they receive. They subtract the amount of the revenue that we receive in our base grant and our supplementary and concentration grants. And then the rest of it comes back to the district, and they do that for each district's participation. The rest of it comes back to the district as a bill back. And so we have bill backs. We have one student, for example, in the preschool program. In the preschool program, the bill back is $100,000 per student. We have one student in the County Office of Ed preschool program, and that student, after all the special ed, all the other funding is accounted for, costs $100,000 more. I'm not sure what the cost currently is for TIP. I think it's about $60,000 is the bill back for each of our students in TIP.
And this is per school year, correct?
This is per school year. Actually, I think I've got that. So it's pricey. Special education services are expensive, whether they're provided by us or by the County Office of Ed. It's just, when they're provided by the County Office of Ed, they're just a little more expensive.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you for all of your questions. Looks like in the future, we can look forward to some interesting discussions on TIP and what it might look like, and also some interesting discussions on the community coordinator and whether that person reports to the principal or reports to the person at the district level in charge of community schools. And I guess we will have those discussions at some point. And you know, it's important that this body, you know, come to a decision, which I'm sure this body will, you know, and whatever the majority as always decides to do, then that's what we'll do. But I hear those as concerns, at least from, if I'm hearing correctly, and I'm sure that we will need some kind of structure so that we can discuss those items sometime in the future. We'll then move on to, are there any board member reports? No? Oh, yes, Señora Garcia.
Well, I don't know if it's much of a report, but well, all of us were invited to meet with members of the Building Healthy Communities last week, and I ended up going, and I felt it was a very productive meeting about community schools. And at the meeting, Mr. Koenig, Mrs. Anzo, and Mr. Castro provided clarity for the group on community schools, and so I think I felt it was very productive. Yeah, so I'm a teacher, and this year I was able to sit on an advisory committee for Hartnell College Foundation that brings STEAM to the schools in Monterey County. We had our first meeting yesterday at Hartnell, and it was great to see LSL teachers in attendance. This is the same group who brings NASA Tech Challenge and the Invention Convention to our area schools. We had great discussion on how we can create pathways to the Silicon Valley. I'm really excited about that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for that. Any other reports? Okay, is there a report from Mr. Koenig, superintendent reports? Okay, very good. We'll then continue to item 5, which is the consent agenda. And I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
So moved by the Señora Gilpas. A second?
Second.
Second by the Señor Jimenez. Any comments on the agenda? Questions? Mr. Koenig, if we could have a line vote, please.
Board President Ocampo,
Yes.
Board Clerk Jimenez,
Yes.
Trustee Gilpus Pereira,
Yes.
Trustee Garcia,
Yes.
Trustee Perez.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to human resources. We have action item, variable term waivers for 24-25 school year. A motion for that?
Motion. Make a
Motion made
motion.
by
I'll
Mr.
second.
Jimenez, second. Who was the second from?
Me?
Oh, yes, La Señora Garcia. Question, comments? We'll take a line vote.
Board President Ocampo,
Yes.
Board Clerk Jimenez,
Yes.
Trustee Gilpus Pereira, Trustee Garcia,
Yes.
Trustee Perez.
Yes.
Okay, item B has been tabled. We'll move on to C, which is information only. It's a first reading, job description for nutrition services, trainer lead. D is also information only, first reading, job description for human resources specialist 1. E, information only, first reading, job description for nutrition services, warehouse men lead. Number 7, we move on to administrative services. Again, information only, first reading, revised board policies, administrative regulation series, philosophy, goals, objectives, and comprehensive plans. B is an action item. We have obsolete board policy and administrative regulation 0420.3, school-based school motivation and maintenance program. I will entertain a motion for that.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Jimenez, a second, seconded by Señora Gilpas. Questions, comments? Line vote?
Board President Ocampo,
Yes.
Board Clerk Jimenez,
Yes.
Trustee Gilpus Pereira, Trustee Garcia,
Yes.
Trustee Perez.
Yes.
C is again, information only, first reading, adopt new board policies, administrative regulations series, philosophy, goals, objectives, and comprehensive plans. So there are some future agenda items that you can peruse, kind of look at. I don't know if any board member has any other items they'd like to put in as future agenda items? Okay. Same. We'll move on to 9, which is future meeting dates, and we have a November 3rd and December the 11th. Number 10, public comments. Closed session agenda items only guidelines. There will be a 2-minute limit for individuals and a 20-minute limit on total public comments. There is no ceding of one's time to other individuals. Individuals wishing to address the Board of Trustees on closed session agenda items may do so at this time. We have a starting time of 6:45 p.m. and an ending time of 6:45 p.m. We then adjourn to closed session at 6:45. After a 10-minute break, closed session will begin promptly at 6:55 p.m. Thank you.
Y voy a preguntar, ¿quién es esa señora que está viejita? Ahí sí, está Sonia, no es Sonia, ¿cómo se llama? ¿La secretaria? Sofía, ¿cómo está de blanco?
Heritage for the Blind, where every card donation counts and every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-9.
Okay, welcome, everybody. We now will reconvene to open session. Time reconvened is 8:36 PM. Board action, on a vote of 5-0, the board voted to appoint Alicia Blanco as a community school site coordinator. On a vote of 5-0, the board voted to appoint Sylvia Perez as a community site coordinator. I will now adjourn this meeting at 8:36. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.